Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Missing tourists from Carnival Sunrise cruise ship found in St. Anne. Residents call for Indicom probe into police killing in central Kingston on Sunday. And later in sports, Jamaica's rugby sevens team finishes 10th on debut as Tier 1 nation on the 7th circuit. I'm Anthony Lugg. Here are the details. Up first this afternoon, an American tourist who disappeared after disembarking the Carnival Sunrise cruise ship in St. Anne 2 weeks ago is now in police custody. According to police, Eric Lott is wanted for various crimes in the U.S. He was held in St. Anne's Bay on Saturday. Head of the St. Anne Police Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell says Mr. Lott has been charged under the Aliens Act. He is to face the St. Anne Parish Court tomorrow. SSP Powell says Mr. Lott is wanted for crimes including grand theft auto in the U.S. The police had been searching for the American since he failed to return to the cruise ship on September 13. They informed the media that contact had been made with Mr. Lott's family members who confirmed they were in touch with him. To other news now. Central Kingston is again tense following the fatal shooting of a resident allegedly by police on Sunday. Moments after the incident, residents clashed with the security forces over what they say was a case of extrajudicial killing. Dwayne Anderson reports.
The no movement rules were the last thing on the minds of residents of James Street in downtown Kingston Sunday as they took to the street to voice their anger at the security forces. The yellow tape drawn along the street is a sign of the killing that took place, allegedly at the hands of the police. The dead man was identified as 28-year-old Paul Campbell, also called Dragon. The residents explained that all the officers on the operation wore masks that concealed their faces. Residents gave their version of the incident.
I'm hear a vehicle outside. When me inside and hear the vehicle outside, I saw police that and by the time I look, I see police are lead upstairs. And I can hear Dragon ball out and say, Crystal. I'm here, boy. I'm not here mouth again.
He just came home from work, start cooking his food, and police go into his house and kill him. For no unexplained reason. And take out a gun and show his girlfriend that they find a rusty gun on him.
Some of the residents who carried placards also hurled insults at the soldiers and police, even as they demanded justice. The grieving relatives and friends want a swift investigation into the case.
We want justice, we want Indicom to investigate. Police can't just go around and kill people, so because them don't make life. Them cook it up, fingerprint, everything.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
The police, in the meantime, say Mr. Campbell was shot and killed during a confrontation with the police. An illegal Colt revolver was recovered from the scene along with 5 rounds of ammunition. The case has been reported to the Police Inspectorate and the Independent Commission of Investigations, Indicom, for them to probe. To a TVJ News follow-up now, the security forces are on alert for a possible reprisal attack following yesterday's gun attack in Gordon Crescent, Granville, St. James. Gunmen killed 2 men and set 4 houses ablaze in the community. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says there are several gangs operating in the parish which continues to carry out well-executed criminal activities. Shamela Pullen reports.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says since the start of the year, at least 3 criminal gangs have been identified in Montego Bay, St. James. However, Dr. Chang says these gangs have alliances among themselves. Dr. Chang says the latest incident, which took place Sunday morning, which claimed the lives of 2 men, was well executed. He says although the police were close by and responded swiftly, they still could not have prevented the killing. Dr. Chang says the security force is taking steps to prevent reprisals.
But given the presence of communication, cell phones, those who were with us in the area know there are some vacant homes in the area, coming across the hill in the dark, you'll know when the police patrol has moved from Gordon's Crescent or Guns Drive back to the main road, that the police have to operate in a cycle. Whether they went back to the station or went back just to the main road, not a relevant issue. They were here, they were moving through. And the citizens said lose their fear of talking or lose this propensity to take revenge. Vigilante justice will not work. It leads to more killing.
Dr. Chang says he has seen efforts made by some citizens to help address this problem, but he wants them to get on board and help the police.
We have found so many firearms, it's almost twice what in the body's had, well over 100 guns in St. James. So I commend those who have been cooperating, but we ask them to come a little bit further because we'd like to apprehend these criminals and disrupt the gang before they kill anybody else.
He says the parish has seen success in terms of convictions since this year.
In fact, I think the last circuit court was one of the highest levels of conviction. They have worked and used all the technical support we have given them as a police force, from the cameras downtown, which helps to identify the activity there. They have used the improved forensic lab, which we have expanded, and DNA evidence has played a critical role, and you could do an investigation and look at how many cases this division has had.
Shamala Pulen, TVJ News.
The driver involved in yesterday's deadly crash in the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine has been warned for prosecution. The police are also investigating whether the individuals in the car were permitted to be traveling after curfew hours. Details in this report.
A family is left in mourning after this Nissan AD wagon plunged into the Rehoboth early Sunday morning. According to police investigations, the vehicle was heading towards Spanish Town from Linstead when the incident occurred. However, it's not clear what led to the car plunging into the Rehoboth, which caused the death of 27-year-old Makeda Hudson. Hudson is of an Old Harbour Road address in St. Catherine. Assistant Superintendent Fitz Albert Linton of the Spanish Town Police Station told TVJ News that the mishap happened about 1 o'clock in the morning.
When we visited the scene, we realized that a white AD wagon, was well into the river. We made the necessary intervention and to ensure that, as best as possible, we wanted to save life. However, from what we have found out then, that it was being driven by a male who was in that vehicle along with a female. The male was taken from the river. However, unfortunately, the female was pronounced at hospital.
Althea Cole, also known as Bubble, says she received a call sometime after 2 o'clock about the car which went into the river. She said without hesitation, she went to the location and rendered her assistance.
I had was to go in there. I had was to take the rope and go in there and take her out, tie her around, cut the seat belt, and cut the seat belt also, and also have to tie her around her waist and take her out, help shove her up and carry her up on the wrecker. The wrecker was fall off, but we still can get the climb, and that is how I take her out of the water.
Councillor for the Angels Division, Patricia Harris, is calling for a fix to the Bogwalk Gorge to help in the reduction of cars going over into the Rehoboth.
Honestly, I am tired of being inside this place every time there is a tragedy. I've spoken about a retaining wall project, something to sort of prevent motor vehicles from going over into the river.
You ought to be cautious when approaching the flat bridge, knowing very well that so many incidents have taken place in that vicinity. And with due care, we can navigate that road space.
And yet again, a call for compensation for divers within the gorge.
Nothing big, but something to sort of, encourage them that when people, meet tragedy or almost a tragedy inside the gorge, they are there to avail themselves. But, even this morning when they are there, to see them, they really need something to hold on to.
O'Shane Masters.
The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is recommending changes to the structure of boards governing state care facilities. Executive Director Rosalie Gage Gray made the suggestions while speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106. More in this report.
Broken bones, sexual abuse, and neglect amount to some of the horrific experiences faced by children in state care. And as the country continues to navigate a deadly third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, cases of abuse are again of concern. It comes as 3 employees at the Clifton Boys Home in Darlaston, Westmoreland have been charged for the abuse of 8 children with ages ranging from 10 to 17.
There was actually video evidence And so it wasn't difficult to have the children confirmed that this actually took place. We would have investigated incidents before, and either the children would refuse to speak about it or it would be denied.
Executive Director of the Child Protection and Family Service Agency, Rosalie Gage Gray, believes corporal punishment remains a key ingredient for child abuse in state care.
One of the youngsters was asked, why didn't you report it? Because I recall at least 2 other times we had sent in teams to do the investigation. I said, why didn't you speak and say this was happening? And he said, well, I get beaten in my yard, so I think it's normal.
Mrs. Gage Gray is calling for more diversity to be added to the board of directors who are responsible to assess the overall direction of facilities that are privately operated.
We want to have a mixed board with persons from, say, public health, from the fire brigade, from education, from health, so that you can have a more rounded board that would be looking at the interests and rights of children across the board and not just in terms of keep and care.
Cody Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's time now for a break, but stay with us. More stories when we return. The country's positivity rate has dropped by 6.6% in the last 24 hours. On Sunday, Jamaica recorded a 20.6 positivity rate, down from Saturday's 27.2%. The country recorded 252 new COVID cases from 1,187 test samples. The overall case count now stands at 83,030. 619 people are hospitalized with the virus. 46 patients are critically ill, while 96 are severely ill. 195 more people have recovered, pushing the total recovery count to 52,292. There are now 28,313 active cases on the island. Meanwhile, COVID-19 has claimed 7 more lives, increasing the death toll to 1,841. 2 deaths are under investigation. After weeks of complaints about the lack of organization at the Turtle River Park vaccine site in Ocheria, St. Anne, things got off to a smooth start at a new location, the Ocheria Pier. Acting Parish Manager for the St. Anne Health Department, Chuck Berry, says following feedback from the previous Blitz activities, the team did an assessment and made several changes.
And what we did was we got here earlier and we started to get persons seated, get them registered. We got here before 8 o'clock this morning and we had things well organized. The JDF personnel were here and we organized things and moved persons from one area to the next and got things going. So at 9 o'clock we had persons being vaccinated and we moved through the system pretty fast.
Mr. Berry says the health department surpassed this target. Meanwhile, one resident who turned up for his second dose says he was pleased with the organization.
I think it's a little bit smoother than the first time, a little bit more organized. You could tell that they used the first time as an experience to improve. I've been here about an hour, a little bit less than an hour. So I think the first time I spent about an hour and a half up here.
Meanwhile, Mr. Berry says the St. Anne Health Department Vaccination Blitz continues for the next few days. He says Blitz activities will be held in rural areas in St. Anne.
We are at Bowbridge also on Thursday. We are at Alexander is there. But I think our schedule for October will now work into the communities right across the length and breadth of St. Anne. So we are making plans to go into those deeper areas.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, the number of requests for at-home childbirth increases, according to one healthcare professional. But as Sandy Williams reports, it's not for everyone.
The COVID-19 pandemic has not only created a shift in operations at several hospitals, but has forced the demand for some services to increase, including at-home child delivery. Lead midwife at the Granville Health Center in St. James, Simone Cooper Bernard, says since the third wave of COVID-19 in Jamaica, there has been a significant increase in the demand for home birth, particularly in the western part of the island.
Last year, I had quite a few home deliveries, and then this year it has doubled because, for example, I'm doing 2-3 deliveries in a month now. So the increase is there. Just about like 2 weeks ago, I had almost 300 persons getting to me on Instagram trying to find out how to do and how are they eligible, if they're eligible, or how will they be able to do a home delivery if possible.
Despite the high demand, home delivery is not for every expectant mother. Nurse Cooper Bernard explains that there are requirements.
First thing, it cannot be your first baby. And many persons say it is a bit harsh. It is not harsh. We need to at least know the first thing that your pelvis is able to be stretched to accommodate a baby. We also do not do delivery for mothers who are having their 6th child and above. Reason being, the risk of hemorrhage is greater.
Also, underlying medical conditions create a major risk for an expectant mother delivering her baby at home. Therefore, the service is offered based on assessment.
Even though we're doing home deliveries, all health centers have to be manned. And these health centers are manned by midwives. So you will find that if we end up having, like, let's say we have 5 delivery calls in a day, it might be a challenge because that means that some of the clinics would have been left unmanned, or some of those patients will have to go to the hospital, right? But we have to stick to the requirements, the eligibility. It has to be a case where if the patient is not eligible, they have to go to the hospital whether they want to or not.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
The president of the People's National Party, Mark Golding, says he's quite optimistic about the future of the party despite the dismal favorability results in the recent RJR Glena Don Anderson polls. The polls show that the public believes the party has done worse under Mr. Golding's leadership and is still trailing the governing Jamaica Labour Party by 9 percentage points. But during a handing over ceremony for solar panels in Hills constituency recently, Mr. Golding said he was optimistic about the poll and party movement as it's an improvement compared to polls for last year's general election.
In the campaign leading up to that election, we were polling 12% behind the Jamaica Labour Party. In the course of a year, we have reduced that to 9%, so we're heading in the right direction. And this is at a time when it has been difficult to do some of the things that we would like to do on the ground because of the COVID restrictions that we must comply with.
The PNP has been rocked by new infighting since former President Dr. Peter Phillips stepped down from that position. Mr. Golding insists that internal changes and developments are improving the party's functionality and preparedness for the next election.
We have a policy and visioning commission of the party that is looking at how we articulate our philosophy and what will be our key programs for the Jamaican people going forward, which are going to tackle the real issues that the country faces, the terrible issues of social dislocation leading to excessive levels of violent crime. The government doesn't have a plan for that. We will have a plan for that, which will bring a lasting solution to that. It won't happen overnight, but it will definitely address the root causes of crime.
And for the latest in the world of business, here's Cody and Barrett with the Business Minute.
In business news, co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan, is raising concern about the rate of inflation in Jamaica. Point-to-point inflation as at August was 6.1%. He says businesses are expecting inflation to breach the Bank of Jamaica's 4 to 6% target in coming months, but steps are being taken to curb the increase.
August 2021, the MPC indicated that the BOJ will have to take monetary policy interventions to curb the inflationary spike that we're seeing. And therefore, what we're expecting is that over the next coming weeks, we'll see a tightening of Jamaican dollar liquidity. And the Bank of Jamaica has also indicated that they will be ensure that movements in exchange rate do not further threaten the inflation target.
Oil prices rose for a fifth straight day on Monday, with Brent at its highest since October 2018, up $1.63 at $79.72 a barrel. U.S. oil added $1.56 to $75.54 a barrel. The increase comes as demand picks up in parts of the world with the easing of pandemic restrictions. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Now for the top regional and international stories, here's O'Shane Masters.
In the region, Hurricane Sam remains a major storm on Monday as it inched closer towards the northern Leeward Islands, but there are no coastal watches or warnings for countries in the region. The Miami-based National Hurricane Center said the hurricane has maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour and is about 800 miles east-southeast of the northern Leeward Islands. In its latest bulletin, the National Hurricane Center said that Sam is moving towards the northwest near 8 miles per hour and that this general motion is expected to continue for the next several days with an increase in forward speed beginning on Thursday. Further overseas, German Finance Minister Olaf Scholz has the best shot at forming a new German government after leading his Social Democratic Party SDP to a narrow victory in Sunday's parliamentary elections. The SDP won 25.7% of the vote, while Angela Merkel's center-right Christian Democratic Union CDU took 24.1%, according to the federal returning officer. While the tight result means Scholz is far from certain to become Germany's next chancellor, he is in the strongest position to start coalition talks with the Green Party, which took 14.8% of the votes, and the Liberal Free Democratic Party, FDP, with 11.5% of the vote. And that's it for the top regional and international stories. I'm Shane Masters.
We head now to a quick break. When we return, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. Jamaica finished 10th overall on debut at the World Rugby Sevens Series in Edmonton, Canada over the weekend.
In the 11th place playoff, the Jamaicans got the better of Mexico 28-10. Mason Catton-Brown led the way with 2 tries for the Jamaicans, while Ben Jones-Bishop and Ashley Smith scored a try each. Despite finishing 11th in the second leg, the Jamaicans ended 10th overall. Stand-in captain O'Shane Eddy assessed the team's performance over the past 2 weeks.
Incredible effort shown by the boys over these 2 past weekends. So we came out expecting to compete with the big boys. We're just a team from Jamaica, and we definitely did that. Competed at the highest stage that Sevens is played at. The boys showed a lot of strength, a lot of teamwork, a lot of unity, and of course a lot of development.
Veteran player Lucas Roy-Smith feels that there is progression in the team.
I feel like we've improved massively from last week. The work-ons we had from last week that we've developed and came through has been phenomenal. What we've been able to achieve from last week to this week is amazing. Just so proud of all the boys for the effort everyone's put in, and can't be more proud of the country, what the boys have done, how we've pulled together in short notice, and it's just been amazing. It's been a family that's come together.
The Crocs will next be in action at the Rugby America's North Sevens Championship in the Turks and Caicos Islands from October 16 to 17. The winner of this tournament will book their place in the 2022 World Rugby Challenger Series.
To football we go now, as Reggae Girls midfielder Drew Spence scored for defending champions Chelsea as they spanked Manchester United 6-1 in the English Women's Super League on Sunday. The 28-year-old netted in the 87th minute as Chelsea registered their second win of the season and moved up to 4th. Meanwhile, it was a tough day for Reggae girl Khadija Bunny Shaw and Manchester City as they were thumped 5-0 by Arsenal. Shaw came on as a substitute in the 70th minute as City slipped to 8th in the table. In another game on the day, another Reggae girl in Rebecca Spencer kept her first clean sheet of the season as Tottenham Hotspur clipped Reading FC 1-0. The win takes Spurs up to 2nd. WSL action resumes on Saturday. And finally this afternoon, Brighton and Hove Albion could move to the top of the English Premier League as they face Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park this afternoon. Brighton are 6th in the table on 12 points, which is 2 behind league leaders Liverpool. Crystal Palace are 15th on 5 points. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Anthony, it is over to you.
Thank you very much, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Anthony Lugg. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.